It feels like just yesterday that we moved to this steep property in South Hobart, overlooking the city and the beautiful Derwent River. But it was actually way back in 2013. In that time, so much has been built, added on, planted and changed. Everything is way more established, and we've renovated our house and constructed a new deck. But mostly, things have just grown, which is why I can't wait to take a very special guest, Costa, on a tour around my productive garden and show him everything that's been happening since he was last here.
The main thing I've seen since walking in is just how much the garden has consolidated in 3 years, particularly all of the tree.
Yeah, it feels like it's finally starting to turn the corner. Like it's been a lot of years of a lot of hard work, and now things are starting to, get the roots down, the leaves are up. I'm like, yes, go.
It's easy for people to get a bit impatient, but if people hang in there, then you get to this next stage. I'm really lucky because I've just seen this snapshot. It's like, bang, 3.5 years later, bang, wow. Right? To me, that's the real heartland of gardening, that progression of being a part of the garden, but also stepping back enough to say, hey, we're getting somewhere.
Overall, we're pretty happy with it, but yet there's always more to do, isn't there?
So how have you gone about designing a layout for this block?
Well, we were very much guided by the shape of our land, which is steep, and so it really told us what was possible here. Very quickly, we realised we had to terrace everything so we could manage water, nutrient flows, and of course have ease of access. And that then led on to the structures that we placed. So obviously the house was here, and then behind us we've got our shed and our office. And it was literally the only place we could put it. So the landscape told us what we could do here.
So these are your permanent structures, and then got the goats, the chickens. How did you set them out?
When we were terracing, we could only get certain widths of each terrace to make sure that the slope was safe and stable. And so we gave the animals the largest terrace for their own comfort. And, we would have loved to have had it up higher in the slope, but that wasn't practical here. So we have to always make these compromises and just listen to what's possible. But as I grow and evolve, so does my garden, because I have new ideas, or I find a new plant, or I want a giant unicorn sculpture, And so one side of that frustrates me, but the other side of it's like, oh, how wonderful that we keep changing and evolving. And I've had to develop a level of acceptance around that.
Your design laboratory can only be tweaked so much.
That's right. Now, the main thing for our property, of course, is how steep the slope is. It's actually around 30 degrees where we're walking right now.
Wow. I mean, generally speaking, most people are a bit afraid of steep slopes. What ways did you go about dealing with it?
And we're actually standing in a pathway which was originally dug as a off-contour swale to slow and sink water. And a swale traditionally is just a ditch on contour. But we made ours slightly off contour just because in our long wet winters we need to make sure we can safely guide water away from particular areas. And it's falling really gradually, so it might look flat, but it just means that it can very slowly and safely move water downhill. You don't want it too steep, otherwise you have potential problems with water rushing down the hill. So this gradually walks the water safely away from the veggie garden in times of excess rain. Of course, we would have loved to do stone walls everywhere to increase the amount of flat space we had, but we didn't have that budget. So we experimented with heat-treated pallets by embedding them into the bank and then planting all sorts of different plants into them.
So that held mulch, it held the roots went deeper.
Yeah.
And now?
Yeah, now the roots are holding the slope, which was the end game. And those pallets, you'll still see remnants around. Like they've composted in place and they've done their job. So they're now phasing out as the plants phase in, which is gorgeous.
So what plants have you selected to help achieve all this?
We have a mix of edible fruit and nut trees, and then an understory of herbaceous and native plants. And that includes ground covers and small shrubs. And it's kind of modelled off a food forest, which has many layers of useful plants working really harmoniously together.
So really simple methods that you've just repeated and got a result.
I do have to say, with a steep slope, everything is harder, it will take longer, and it is more expensive. But it's also a fantastic opportunity to get creative.
Anna, I realise there's trade-offs with a view being at the top of a hill. Wind must be one of your big climate issues.
Oh yeah, we get smashed by the westerly winds in particular, and we can get dumped on by the southerlies sometimes as well. And so we've done certain things, like we put in this little windbreak here, but all around the property we've got more and more. This one's a native Dodonea viscosa, and it works a treat just to buffer the space.
Yeah.
And of course, being in Tassie, we do have shorter summers. So this is where things like this cold frame come in real handy, which is basically a little hot box, and it extends that hotter period so we can make sure things ripen or can hang around a bit longer. G'day, girls.
Anyone that knows your garden would probably know these two characters equally as much as they know you.
Oh, that's pretty much right. Here we've got Jilly and Gertie, and they're actually the heartbeat of my garden. They provide so much, including their manure, which falls into the nearby surrounds, which is covered in a thick layer of wood chips. And twice a year I'll scrape the whole thing out when it's half composted into our nearby bays. And over another 6 months or so, it breaks down to this perfect compost and it goes back onto our food crops. Like, they actually provide a huge amount of nutrients back for our food system. So they're gold.
And they're not the only helpers that you have here in the garden.
Chickens and ducks, which are manure machines. And we capture all that and just funnel it strategically into the right place. So it's never a problem. It's always part of the nutrient cycling solution.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, good place to check everything out.
What's the next thing? What are you seeing?
Well, look, a garden's never finished, is it? So I do see a lot of jobs to be done.
Yeah.
For me, it's important to remember that the reason I garden is to nourish myself, but to nourish others as well in my community and beyond. And in that framework, it's happening. And I think I've got to really sit in that and just enjoy that and go, yes.